as I was kind of looking at your different YouTube channels, one thing that was kind of fun is I went back to the oldest video because I go, the oldest video that still exists. And I have questions about this.
Hmm.
So I'm starting with your Fantano channel, which you've put out 1.8 thousand videos. I then took a peek at the needle drop. You've put out
God.
4.7 thousand for a total of about 6.5 thousand video. And it's funny.
I feel like that's such a display of mental illness or something. You know, there's definitely
I
like
have so many
there's a there
questions.
there. There's something wrong with me.
No, well, I mean, it really is such a testament to your work ethic. Okay, so first and foremost, and for every industry, for every person who's been successful, there's always one metric that is common amongst all of them, which is the amount of input and output. So just meaning, for a part of your success, you're obviously extremely good at what you do. People love you, but also you have put out a ton of video, which I think really helps people to refine their craft because I'm sure you are a slightly different person from when you started like 15 years ago. So going back to the needle drop, for example, one of your videos, the oldest one I could find 15 years ago, it has 500,000 views on it. So first question, when you posted your first video, did it go up to 500,000 or did it flop? How did your first video do?
Oh yeah, no, not at all. I mean, the progression of the channel was very slow growing at first, and to some degree, it's always been sort of like a bit of a snowball type thing in terms of just the overall views and engagement that I'm getting on all platforms. I mean, it used to be that things were just kind of focused mostly on just a blog, a podcast that I was doing. That shifted eventually into YouTube in 2009. Then we were just like focusing on, or I really was focusing on just that the needle drop YouTube channel for a period of years and growing my audience from 0 to 1,000 subscribers over the course of a year, then to 10,000 subscribers over the course of another year. And then I think, 50 or so thousand subscribers or a little bit more in the course of another year. And that's when I was actually able to like kind of do this part time in tandem with other sort of stuff I was doing part-time at the time too, in like 2011, 2012. And, years down the road, it's expanding into another YouTube channel. Then it's expanding into other social media platforms. Then we're on Twitch. Then we're on TikTok. Then we're, expanding into another YouTube channel and just doing as much content and everything as we possibly can in all spaces, just kind of engaging in whatever the music discourse of the day is.
It seems like you found your branding pretty early on, right? Because, for example, your catchphrase, the internet's busiest music business nerd, you were using that in some of the first videos that I found, which is amazing. And
I had that calling card from my first YouTube video. Yes.
yeah, which is great. You knew what you wanted to do, which I love. And that phrase, by the way, is a trademark. So you can trademark a logo, right? The name, a slogan, all these things, even colors and smells. And so over the years, these are trademarks that you've been using. Are these things that you take really seriously? Like when someone infringes and takes your slogan or takes your name or does something similar to you, do you hire your lawyer to go and send a cease and desist?
The only times in which I've had to do that, I'll say generally no. I mean, for a long time, a lot of people would sort of like give me compliments on this in the comments of the videos, but my teeth for a while, I was just kind of calling myself not just the internet's busiest music nerd, but also saying that I have the best teeth in the game. And there was an artist who was saying that about himself also for a short period of time, and there was like some teeth beef going on for a minute. But it was not that serious at all. It was just very silly. But the only times in which I've had to sort of lawyer up in that way, when I had a TikTok video go viral of me talking about like pizza getting sliced and so on. It was just kind of a silly gag video that I did randomly. And it's been remixed like tons and tons, just countless times since then. The sound's been incorporated in lots of videos, which I feel like is fine, as far as like fair use goes and kind of like remixing and reappropriating audio or sort of intellectual property for other creative works. For the most part, I think that's like totally cool and fair. But there were uses of that sound that were being implemented in either TikToks that were essentially advertisements for products or literal advertisements for products. Yeah. Even one for a mobile app that didn't even just take the audio from the TikTok, but also my face. Like my face was in the video as well, which was very odd. When you're not just remixing the audio or, using my likeness or whatever is like kind of a joke or a gag or whatever, but you're using it to sell a product or a service. At that point, it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? At that
And
point,
also
it's
you
no
need to here's
longer.
What I'm glad to hear you say is that, some people are they're surprising to me, very relaxed about this stuff. And I wouldn't be,
Mm.
especially when you're telling me you've invested 6.5 thousand videos of your time over 15 years to build. Your face is a brand now. Your name is a brand, and you really should, enforce that. But it sounds like you're doing that. And especially if someone's making money off of you.
Yeah, and again, we're not even talking about just sort of like, I don't know, not to sort of like put myself in a legal corner here, but we're not even talking about instances in which, like, let's say for example, some stupid mom pop pizza shop from around the corner used the sound of my voice talking about pizza getting sliced to sort of make a TikTok about slicing pizza. Like, okay, what I've worked at a pizza place for a long time. It's like I'm not going to go sue some random local mom and pop pizza place or whatever. But when you're Domino's Pizza doing it, when you're a multi-million dollar video game corporation, I'm going to look at that and just be like, okay, well, you're just using other people's works, and I'm not the only one. You're just using other people's works on this platform to get away with advertising your wares. That is not the same. And unfortunately, there's, as you said, there's a lot of like young people who don't really understand their rights on this front. And despite the fact that like I have gotten money from these people, and these are like legitimate intellectual property pursuits. There were a lot of like, clueless young people in the comments of, me talking about this very issue, because I have addressed it publicly at least a couple of times, saying like, oh, well, you put it on TikTok, so that means anybody can use it for anything ever, all that they want. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. Just because you put up a video on TikTok doesn't mean somebody can copy that video and then turn it into an internet advertisement for their mobile game that they start uploading all over the internet. That's not how TikTok works. That's not how intellectual property works. Platforms like TikTok would like you to think that they could sort of like completely pass the buck with this sort of stuff. And the reason like it's so pervasive is that there is like a lot of legal gray area going on here, because there's so much content on that platform getting uploaded and getting remixed on a regular basis. And on top of it, like, the company is based in China. So, there's like a lot of, issues and questions there, but that doesn't mean that you give up any and all like real ownership of things that you're doing and saying on the internet, and allow, multi-million dollar corporations to profit off of them with, no recourse whatsoever. That doesn't mean that we just like throw out all legal rules and expectations out the window in terms of intellectual property, just because things might be a little bit gray, because it's a new platform and it's from a different country and it's a different era of kind of information and content consumption.
So you've dealt with some lawyers, it sounds like, over the course
Oh,
of your career.
I love
Do you like
lawyers.
lawyers,
I
Fantano?
love lawyers. Lawyers are great. I mean, listen. I mean, there's some pretty terrible lawyers. But I will say for the most part, from all of my interactions with lawyers in my business and outside of my business, a vast majority of all dealings I've ever had to do with, at least the lawyers I have met, have been very positive. So I don't have too much hate to sling toward lawyers.
True or false? It takes time to find the right lawyer.
I think so, yeah. I think personally I have been lucky in the, again, handful of instances where I had to seek legal counsel, that the lawyer that I needed was there pretty quickly. But yeah, you do got to do some searching for sure.
Last little thing. So look, this is more of kind of my personal curiosity. So for a long career that you've already had, and you have so much time to kind of continue, legal issues. You've been through some things, and I've read some things, and including things that have resulted in settlement agreements. So that means you don't get to talk about, usually logistics, how did it happen, but a lot of it, still public knowledge. So one of the things I was kind of reading about, there was like a Fader article, and I would just say for someone who's maybe in the public light, kind of like you responding is usually one of the options, but it's the last option.
Mm.
And it's because, we don't want to escalate things unnecessarily and whatnot. But nonetheless, without getting into the details with the Fader situation, essentially my understanding is that article says bad stuff. I think you had a tour going on, some dates got canceled, and eventually you did a response video. And I guess my question was, for having a platform that you do, you have the ability to say what you need to say and have a lot of people hear it. And that can
Mhm.
be really compelling to also getting people to help you. And I've seen this happen even before. Rick Beato, he had a strike, a copyright strike issue, and he just took it to his platform. He's like, I'm not going to fight this legally. This really sucks. And that resulted in lots of pressure from other people coming in and getting, the strike withdrawn. So in your case, was your response video and making it real public in response something that helped you?
I think in that instance it did because there was sort of like a lot of public fallout instantly as a result of that. I was very careful in that original video to sort of explain my side and put out there sort of like further context that kind of explain things and not sort of portray it or engage in it in a way where it's like, I'm fighting with this publication. I'm fighting with the author. I'm fighting with the, editor. I did everything that I could. I mean, I completely avoided, I would say, any sort of framing of the video or my position and all of that, to just sort of keep it from turning into, this is a one-on-one sort of like battle between me and this person and this publication or whatever. I didn't want this to turn in or develop into some kind of like ugly, hideous, petty beef because I didn't really think that was going to help my brand or sort of like, improve what I do in any way whatsoever. I mean, as you know, like in these situations, I mean, obviously, like, public statements happen. Sometimes public statements are necessary, but like dragging the whole thing into the social media space and sort of turning it into a tweet war
Oh.
isn't necessarily going to guarantee you the outcome that you want. So like you're just kind of wasting time and resources and energy at that
Well, and
point.
sometimes if it's a breach of contract, right? So it had nothing to do with public anything. And then you get on social media and you say something about it, even if it's truthful. And now they're suing you for
Right.
slander and false light and defamation, all this stuff. And so that's why it's not always the first go to. We want to really thoughtfully consider these options.
Just focusing on what I do best and kind of continuing to give my audience what they want, because detouring this into a really hideous, ugly spat is, as many views and as much drama as it may sort of like stir up initially. This is ultimately like not what my audience came to me for. You know what I mean? Like none of them subscribed to me. I mean, I've been doing this for so long, but like, at the time that some of these things were happening, 10 plus years ago, none of these people subscribed to me in the hopes or sort of anticipation that, oh, well, maybe this guy will be in a legal battle one day and I'll get to watch it, from like the front row if I subscribe to him now. I mean, these people follow me and have followed me because they want to hear some music opinions and they want to be filled
Yeah.
in with what's happening with music, not what's going on with the latest court case I'm embroiled in. So, sparing them that as much as I possibly can, and just sort of continuing to focus on what I do instead, I feel like is more of a guarantee that like, in the long term, I'll do well than just kind of like focusing all of my energy into, turning some legal issue I'm having into a hot dramatic mess for everyone to watch.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I might go check out that complaint now that I know about it, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
might
yeah.
do a
Let me,
review.
yeah, yeah, no, no, for sure. Do a legal complaint review and
Yeah.
let me know how it goes.
Absolutely. All right, look, I'm officially running late to a meeting, so I'm gonna wrap this up. I didn't get to everything I want to talk to you about, but we hit so much, and I just want to say, like, I'm just so impressed with you. Such a hustler. So that's why I was just so excited to have this opportunity to talk to you, and I'm very honored you gave me your time. You're wonderful. So thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate your kind
Yeah.
words and the interview. Thank you.